Write short note on CEDAW. CEDAW is the UN Convention of the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, 1979. The state parties shall take the following measures to prevent discrimination against women on ground of marriage or maternity and to ensure effective right to work under this convention. Purpose of CEDAW. It mandates all nations to bring equality in public and private sphere by eliminating discrimination against women. For instances, gender stereotypes, traditional gender roles. The convention guarantees women equal recognition, enjoyment, and exercise of all human rights and fundamental freedoms within the political, economic, social, cultural, civil, domestic, and other fields, regardless of their legal status and on a basis of equality with men. Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act. Short note on MTP Act. Object of the MTP Act. MTP Act allows termination of pregnancy up to 20 weeks of pregnancy. In case termination of pregnancy is immediately necessary to save life of the woman, this limit does not apply. Section 5 of the MTP Act. There are, however, cases of diagnosed fetal abnormalities and cases of women who are survivors of sexual abuse who have reached out to court with request for termination of pregnancy beyond 20 weeks. Objective of Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act. To provide for the lawful termination of pregnancies by registered medical practitioners in certain cases only as have been laid down in the Act. The Act provides the circumstances in which a pregnancy may be terminated. It affords protection to the woman and not the unborn child. Define core principles of Convention on the Right of the Child. Four principles contribute to a general attitude towards children and their rights. They are based on the notion that children too are equal as human beings, non-discrimination, best interest of the child, the right to survival and development, the view of the child. Christian Marriage Act. Which type of ceremony is important for legalizing Christian marriage? The expression Christian means person professing the Christian religion. There are no preliminaries prescribed to the marriage of Indian Christians. No notice of intended marriage is required to be given. Section 60 explains about solemnization or legalization between Indian Christians on the fulfillment of the following conditions. The age of the man shall not be under 21 years and the age of the woman shall not be under 18 years. Neither of the persons intending to be married shall have a wife or husband living. Each of the parties to the marriage shall, in the presence of a person licensed under Section 9 and two credible witnesses, say to others, I call upon the persons here present to witness that I, A, B, in the presence of Almighty God and in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, do take the CD to be my lawful wedded wife, husband. Licenses may be issued to any Christian for the solemnization of marriage among Indian Christians. The parties are free to say the aforesaid in substance, not necessarily in literal translation in any of the regional languages understood by them. Protection of Women, Domestic Violence Act 2005. What is domestic violence? What are the offences that are covered under domestic violence? Cruelty or domestic violence is a burning problem for the married woman. Atrocities are committed by the members of in-laws family like confinement in a single room, physical torture, murder by burning, or strangulation over household work, undernourishment, not allowing her to enjoy her matrimonial rights, etc. Due to atrocities, women sometimes commit suicide. Reasons for the atrocities committed by the in-laws can be classified as dispute regarding household work, doubt upon the character of the wife, finding fault for not giving a birth to a male child, etc. Most of the cases do not come to light and very few of them reach the police station or the court. Offences covered under domestic violence are physical exploitation, mental or emotional exploitation, economic exploitation. Causes of domestic violence in India, there is no uniform or single reason that leads to domestic violence. It is a combination of various, that is sociological or behavioral factors, that is anger, poverty, drug addiction, extramarital affairs, etc. Religious factors such as religious sanctions or beliefs, historical factors, that is superiority complex, inherent evil, cultural factors, that is the desire of a male child. Dowry is a form of socio-economic factor. Is there any benefits in filing false cases of domestic violence or 498A in India? Domestic violence cases are cases under IPC section 498A refer to the cases filed by the wife on her relatives accusing the husband and his family of cruelty or dowry demands. The case filed under such a section is non-bailable, non-compoundable and cognizable, meaning that you cannot secure bail without appearing in the court. The complaint cannot be withdrawn and the case has to be registered and investigated. In view of the crimes against women, actions regarding such cases are taken quickly and the accused are arrested without any prior investigation. Now, if a fake case is registered and filed against anyone, the person will be immediately arrested for the same and put behind the bars. A typical case runs for 5 to 7 years and the person won't be let out until he is proven not guilty. This is the benefit available to the plaintiff for filing a case under 498A. In most of the cases, the complaint is settled by out of the court to extort money. The damage to the respondent's image can be extensive, wherein arrest and jail terms are not taken lightly. And even if it is found out that it is a fake case, the women are let out without much action being taken against them. The Factories Act 1948. Explain in brief any three provisions relating to the welfare and safety of women under the Factories Act 1948. Factory means any premises whereon 10 or more workers are working or were working on any day of preceding 12 months and in any part of which a manufacturing process is being carried on. Whereon 20 or more persons are working or were working on any day of preceding 12 months and in any part of which a manufacturing process is being carried on without the aid of power or is ordinarily so carried on. Provisions relating to welfare and safety of women are: no woman shall be required to work in any factory except between the hours of 6 a.m. and 7 p.m. The state government is authorized to verify the limits, but such variations shall not authorize the employment of any woman beyond the hours of 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. No woman shall be allowed to clean, lubricate, or adjust any part of a prime mover or of any transmission machinery when it is in motion or make adjustment thereof, which would expose the woman to risk of injury from any moving part either of that machine or to any adjacent machinery. Separate enclosed accommodation shall be provided for male and female workers, which shall be adequately lighted and ventilated and proper latrine or urinal facilities. What is provision of maintenance of wife under section 125 of the CRPC? Provisions relating to maintenance under section 125 of CRPC states as: if any person having sufficiently means neglects or refuses to maintain his wife who is unable to maintain herself, or his legitimate or illegitimate minor child, whether married or not, unable to maintain itself, or his legitimate or illegitimate child, not being a married daughter, who has attained majority, where such child is by reason of any physical or mental abnormality or injury unable to maintain itself, or his father or mother unable to maintain himself or herself. A magistrate of the first class may, upon proof of such neglect or refusal, order such person so make a monthly allowance for the maintenance of his wife or such child, father or mother at such monthly rate, receiving as much magistrate think fit. Any such allowance for the maintenance or interim maintenance and expenses for proceedings shall be payable from the date of the order. If any person so ordered fails without sufficient cause to comply with the order, any such magistrate may, for every branch of the order, issue a warrant for levying the amount due in the manner provided for levying fines, and may sentence such person. Immoral Traffic Prevention Act of 1956. Define child according to Immoral Traffic Act 1956. Section 2B of the Act states that child means a person who has not completed the age of 16 years. Short notes: Immoral Traffic Prevention Act 1956. The act was made to suppress immoral traffic in women and children, as India signed the United Nations International Convention for the Suppression of Women in Traffic in Person and of the Exploitation in Others in New York on 9th May 1950. The PETA has undergone two amendments in the year 1978 and 1986, respectively, and it made the act more gender neutral. This legislation aims to stop immoral trafficking and prostitution in India and is divided into 25 sections and one schedule. Child Marriage Act 1929. Explain restraint of child marriage. The Prohibition of Child Marriage Act 2006 presently sets the marriageable age to be 18 and 21 years for boys and girls respectively. Objectives of the Child Marriage Restraint Act: to eradicate the evil of child marriage, the Child Marriage Restraint Act was passed in 1929. The object is to eliminate the special evil which had the potentialities of dangers to the life and health of a female child who could not withstand the stress and strain of married life, and to avoid early deaths of such minor mothers. Significance of Child Marriage Restraint Act. The Child Marriage Restraint Act was the first social reform issue taken up by an organized women's group in India. This group pressured many politicians into supporting the act by picketing their delegations, holding placards, and shouting slogans. They believed that passing of this act would show the world that India is serious about social reforms. Limitation of the act. No court can take cognizance of any offence under the act after expiry of 1 year from the date on which offence is alleged to have been committed. This further dilutes the efficiency of the law. Let's understand International Labour Organization. What is the Minimum Age Convention? The International Labour Organization Convention, the basic rule is stated that the minimum age of entry to employment should not be less than the age for completing compulsory schooling. It has further laid down that in no case it should be less than 15 years of age. This convention permits young persons between the age of 13 and 15 to be employed on light work. This convention maintains that the minimum age should be progressively raised to a level consistent with the physical and mental development of the children. It makes a provision of flexibility for countries whose economic and educational facilities are not adequate. Such countries may prescribe a general minimum age for light work of 12 years instead of 13 years. It prescribes a higher minimum age of 18 years for hazardous work. Enumerate any three provisions given under International Labour Organization for protection of labor. Abolition of child labor given in the preamble. A child below 14 years of age should not work in any industrial establishment. The convention permits young persons between age of 13 to 15 to be employed on light work. What are UNICEF publications? India, with a child population of over 300 million, is the largest country program of UNICEF. In the vision statement of UNICEF India, it stated that it will vigorously seek to place children on top of the national and state policy agenda and strive to ensure that children at all times have the first call on the country's resources. It is concerned with the violation of children's rights. It seeks intervention of the state as well as society to end the violation of the children's rights. This agency supports programs in nutrition, water and sanitation, mother and child health care and abolition of child labor. It is stated that UNICEF supports programs aimed at bonded and hazardous child labor and the severe discrimination faced by the girl child. UNICEF's primary mission is to respond to the urgent and basic needs of the children. Reservation of seats for women in Panchayat. The 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act 1992 has been enacted to give constitutional status to Panchayat Raj. It seeks to provide democracy of grassroots as it intends to give power to people. Reservation of seats for women. 1/3 seats are to be reserved for women, whether they are reserved for women, whether they are reserved for SC/ST, respectively, and 1/3 of open seats shall be reserved for women of all castes. It further requires that not less than 1/3 of the total number of offices of chairpersons in the panchayat at each level shall be reserved for women. Women's status, ancient era versus modern era. Write in detail the status of women in pre-independence India and trace some of the historical events which lead to the improvement in the status. In the freedom struggle of India, women's role in the struggle has not been well taken note of. After the War of Independence of 1857, women became aware about solidarity. Ramakrishna Mission, Pratna Samaj, Brahmo Samaj, Theosophical Society and the Hindu Rashtriya Mahasabha by their efforts brought about a change in the position of women. As an effect of this change, women started attending meetings of the Congress party. Swaran Kumar Devi and Mrs. K. Ganguly were the first two representatives of the Congress party to enter the national political arena. Women's status on ancient era, modern era. The status of women witnessed a steady shift along with the phases of Indian society. Since from ancient to modern times, the life of women has highly influenced by the social attitude and practices in the light of philosophical ideologies. The sacred position of granted to women found a shattered, steady decay with the time leading towards disrespect and injustice. Women started to regain the lost status only in the later part of the 19th century. The injustice and deprivation caused due to the shattered status can be compensated only through equity and justice. Equity in status can be attained only through inclusive growth. This indicates on the issues connected to the mobility in the status of women along the ancient, medieval and modern era.